Back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to my story animated. My voice cracked. Yes, getting.
As I lay near my parents' bed with my phone in hand, ready to record, I could feel my heart pounding against my chest. This was an invasion of privacy, and my hands trembled at the thought of what I might hear that night. But what I heard was even more traumatizing than the sounds I thought I was
Tears.
going to hear. Hi, my name is Grace. Before I unfold my story, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell too so you know when new content is available. If you do, you will live a long and prosperous life. Hey, why don't we play a game of truth and dare? Camille asked, and she busted open a pack of potato chips. My parents, Dad Wade and stepmother Josie, had long been in bed, and my friends and I were having our sleepover before exams began. Sheets, blankets, pillows, stuffed animals,
Wait, is that?
and snacks filled the
What is that? What is that dog? Is that even a dog? Or is that a muscle dog? A lot. Okay. I'm gonna
room floor that
talk.
night. Michelle, Alexis, Jody, Katie, and Samantha nodded and agreed that it was a great idea. We did the usual things in our truth or dare, such as make embarrassing videos, spill our deepest, darkest secrets. We even kissed each other, but those were all simple compared to the hell that was infringed upon me when I decided to choose dare.
Oh
Samantha looked at me
gosh.
shyly and said, Grace, I dare you to spend the night under your parents' bed. You must
Don't.
not just record everything, but also send it to your best friends so we know that you completed the task. Ew, I said in horror. You can't be serious about that dare. I'm not doing that. You need to change it. Do you all remember when Grace dared me to go into the boys' bathroom and stay there the entire lunch period? Grace, you were doing this dare. Jody laughed. But guys, these are my parents. Do you know what could happen if I got caught? Just get caught? Alexis shrugged as she popped the potato chip into her mouth. I was hesitant because I didn't even want to think about what happened in my parents' room at night. After much coaxing, I exclaimed, Fine, I'll be a good sport and do my dare. They all cheered and we decided to watch a few movies before going to sleep. Dad, I'm heading to the shower if anyone needs me, I yelled. Okay, Gracie, he replied. I went into the bathroom and I turned the shower on. I peeked out the bathroom door before coming out. I came out of the bathroom and quickly locked the door with the key. I quickly headed to my parents' room with the phone to complete my dare. I had just slipped under the bed when I heard my parents enter the room. I folded my lips in to ensure no sound could escape my mouth. What's going on, Wade? You've been on edge the whole afternoon, Josie said. I watched as my father paced the bedroom floor. Zara wants to come see me. Zara? Zara as in your ex-wife, Zara? Josie asked.
God.
Yes, that was Zara. She said that she may have found something that may be a lead to her daughter that went missing, my dad said. So why is that a problem? Josie asked in a confused voice. There was a few minutes of silence while my dad paced the room, then he stopped abruptly. There is something that I need to tell you.
Oh God.
I don't want you to think any differently of me, and I don't want you to leave me, he pleaded. I lay quietly in the shadows under the bed, wondering what the secret was that my father was about to disclose to Josie. Nothing in the world could have prepared me for what my father said next. The courts did not give me custody of Grace. I kidnapped her, my dad said. You did what? Josie asked, horrified. Baby, shh, please. I don't want Grace to hear. You need to start explaining, and quickly, Wade. My father went on to tell my stepmother that he kidnapped me when I was 5 from my mother's house. They were in a custody battle, and when I went missing, nobody questioned him, since he showed up to court and went through the motions of being a distraught father. He actually paid a friend of his to hold me for a few months until everything died down. My hair was dyed, cut low, and wore boy clothes so that I wouldn't resemble any of the missing person pictures that were posted. I placed my hand over my mouth to stop the sounds that were trying to escape. Josie didn't say anything for a while, and then she asked, What are you going to do? You know she can't come here, or she'll see pictures of Grace and put 2 and 2 together. I couldn't believe my ears. Instead of calling the police, she was asking him what he was going to do. My dad was never big on technology, so I wasn't on any of the popular social media apps, and now I knew why my father raised me that way.
Wait, was that Telegram right there?
I couldn't believe my ears. Instead of calling the police, she was asking him what he was going to do. My dad was never big on technology, so I wasn't on
Wait, that is Telegram.
any of the popular social media apps, and now I knew why my father raised me that way. Every time I asked my father about my mother, he told me that she was crazy and spent her days in asylums. Finding out that my father lied to me all these years and that my mother was alive and looking for me created conflicting feelings within me. There's a dessert place on Henry Street that usually doesn't have a lot of customers. I'll ask her to meet me there and hear what information she has. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to keep my daughter, even if it means disposing of Zara. My eyes widened. I wanted to get out from under the bed. I wanted to confront my father, but I had no choice to stay. The man that raised me was not the man that was speaking this way. He was a monster. Josie didn't say anything. She suggested that they watch a movie downstairs to keep my father's mind off things. As soon as my parents left the bedroom, I quickly came from under the bed and ran to my bedroom. It wasn't until my dad knocked on the door and entered that I remember the shower was on. "Gracie, you forgot the shower on," he said. "Sorry, Dad." I gulped. I came back to my room to get something and I got sidetracked. I lied. Later at dinner, I kept quiet, mulling in my own thoughts. If my father and stepmother realized that I was acting strange during dinner, they didn't say anything. That night, I stayed up and thought about how I was going to deal with the situation. I was 15 years old, which meant that my dad kept me from my mother for 10 years. How was that even possible? The next day, my friends asked me about the recordings, and I told them I couldn't give it to them. They teased me about wimping out, but when they realized how upset I was, they realized that something was wrong. They asked me to share what was happening with them, but I couldn't. If I told them, my dad would be taken to jail before I would have a chance to be reunited with my mother. I wanted to see my mom, and I decided that when my father was going to go meet her, I would follow him. The next few days, I wasn't allowed to go out of the house alone. I was dropped and picked up at school. I wasn't allowed to walk to and from school with my friends anymore. When I asked why, my father was unable to give me a straight answer. When my father finally set a time to meet my mother, I was relieved, but also afraid for her. What if she found out too much and he decided to get rid of her? I wasn't about to lose my mother a second time. I knew where the dessert shop was located in town, and I snuck out of my window and got there before my father did.
Wait,
I
did you just deep dive?
So catch any prying eyes as to why I was lurking in the shop. I sat in the innermost part of the shop with a cap on and a newspaper held open in front of me as though I was reading it, and I waited.
Yeah, so can
About 20
at
minutes
you.
later, a shadow fell over me, and a familiar voice came from the other side of the paper. "Hi, Grace," Josie said. I was about to lower the paper, but she stopped me. "Keep the paper up, and I want you to sit there and listen to what I have to say," she said, and continued. "I suspected that you heard the secret that your father disclosed to me the other night in the bedroom.
Oh,
the past few
snap.
days, you've avoided your father and I when possible.
Snap.
I decided to check the security cameras, and I saw you sneaking in and out of our room. I erased the footage so your father wouldn't know. I admire your spunk for wanting to come down here and meet your mother, and probably save her from whatever demise your father has for her. But what you are doing is dangerous, and you should not be here." "It's my mom," I said. "Because of him, she missed out on 10 years of my life." "Grace,
Yup.
I need you to trust me. I need you to get up and go behind the counter, now," Josie said, her voice slightly raised. Josie had never spoken to me that way before, and I felt obligated to trust her. I wondered if this time I bit into more than I could chew. I was a bit worried as to what Josie had planned for my dad and my mom. She spoke softly to the employee behind the counter, and they opened the side hatch and allowed me to enter. I watched as Josie took my spot and sat as though she was reading the newspaper. The employee urged me to go to the back room, but I decided to hide behind the counter. I peeked over the countertop and watched as my father and mother walked into the shop, laughing and chatting with each other. They sat by one of the round tables and leaned in closely to each other as they spoke. I looked over at Josie, who held her position. Suddenly, officers in all black, complete with masks, entered the front and back of the building and surrounded the table that my father and my mother sat by. I looked on as not one, but both my parents were handcuffed and escorted outside despite
FBI, open up.
I was quite confused. After my mom and dad were escorted outside, I watched as one of the officers shook Josie's hand before he exited the building. I ran out from behind the counter and snatched the newspapers from her hand and flung it on the ground. "How dare you!" I screamed at her. "What did you do? What did my mother ever do to you? I wanted to meet my mother."
Yeah, your voice so
Josie looked at
squeaky.
me, unmoved by my behavior. "If you give me a chance, I would love to explain everything to you," she said, pointing at the chair opposite of her. I reluctantly sat down and glared at Josie.
Your voice
I went
squeaky.
into labor almost 16 years ago. Things started off great, and then about 2 hours in, things became complicated. I had to be rushed to surgery for a C-section. I
Oh,
watched as
God.
Josie's eyes filled with tears, but she continued. My baby was so cute and had the cutest heart-shaped birthmark on her butt.
Oh,
Josie
God.
giggled as she wiped away her tears. The antibiotics that I was given weren't agreeing with me, and the nurses began to take care of my baby. One such nurse was Mackenzie Bell, or you may know her as Zara Hope. My head tilted to the side, and I watched Josie, puzzled. One night, while at the hospital, Mackenzie told me that my baby girl was having trouble breathing, so she took her away. Later on, they said that my baby had passed away. Mackenzie also mysteriously disappeared. That same day, I knew something wasn't right. I knew my baby was still alive somewhere. She looked at me and smiled. That baby was you. My mouth
No.
opened, but no words came out. My brain
No.
was on overdrive. I couldn't believe it.
No.
Neither parents were actually my parents. I never stopped looking for you. And when I did find you, I vowed that I would never lose you again. I only married Wade because it meant being closer to you. We have been searching for Mackenzie for years, and when she contacted Wade, we saw it as a blessing. She said as she reached out to squeeze my hands that were on the table. Josie said that if it would make me feel better, that we could go do DNA test. It took 2 grueling weeks for us to get the results. The test proved positive, that Josie was my real mother.
Okay,
My life
guys, this is the end of the
changed
video.
drastically,
I will
all
see you
because my
guys
friends and I
later.